Ya son que 4, un año más y se va, supuestamente se baja.
In 7th grade, I asked the teacher, what should I read? She looked at me up and down and said, House on Mango Street. I'm like, all right, that's great. In 8th grade, I asked another teacher, what should I read? She looked at me up and down and said, House on Mango Street. I'm like, all right, I already read that, but okay, thank you. 9th grade, the same question. House on Mango Street. Like, that's the only book out there. And I'm really glad that I'm here celebrating you because we need more writers. We need more of our stories out. We need more books. I don't think a lot of people don't like reading. I think they just don't know what to read. And I was one of those kids. Let me tell you about my grandmother. My grandmother was cool as hell. And by cool as hell, I mean she was mean as hell. My grandmother grew up in a small town in El Salvador. The town was so small that between her house and another, they would host a local pastor, and that was church. My grandmother's floors were made of dirt, so every time she would mop, it would fill the whole house with Mother Earth and a shitload of fabuloso. It was beautiful. It would almost make you cry because she would use a lot of fabuloso. My grandmother, always ready to give you a hug and a chanclada in a given second. My grandmother. I don't think she was ever young. I think she was born 70. Mi abuelita, the original Benjamin Button. My grandmother. And so the story goes that back in the days, there was a civil war. And not before long, the fighting was in front of my grandmother's house. And as the soldados and the guerrilleros were shooting up every single house indiscriminately, and the windows breaking and the dishes breaking, my grandmother, with an old mattress, shielding all her kids from anything that might break through. And as the kids were crying, my grandmother, shh. No son balas, son mariposas confundidas tratando de salir de la casa. They are not bullets. They are butterflies that are confused trying to get out the house. My grandmother wore a white dress that night. In the morning, it was red. My grandmother was shot 4 times in the shoulder. She pulled me to the side later on and said, revolution is heavy. Revolution is blood. Don't ever forget that. My mother. She left in the middle of promises she never meant to keep, and who the hell is she? Her name even less important than the problems which plague the poor. Her eyes brighter than the suns on immigrants' backs. She, young at heart, with a beautiful crooked smile which God never fixed to show the flexibility of perfection. What's in tears now, mi querida vieja? My decisions to not mourn you did not come from your wishes. I now listen to winds which now make symphonies, and I, the example of bored, was never worthy. I learned to curse them. I cursed the wicked moon which separated us through sleep, that bastard sun that called your fields a painful reminder of how dreams have many different definitions. I cursed the currency you were never meant to hold, my pride that kept my heart away from yours. She, the mother to all, 1,000 feet tall at times with the calm of 1,000 oceans, which decided to never be in sync for that perfect moment that was never meant to be. She became a once upon a time of tongues of people who can't distinguish between gems and coals. Reflect, woman, and I will speak for you to the world that never let you win, to the world that never let you be. What's in the city, a country, the rich, the poor, armies of disposable men who die for false intentions. What's in the rain, the colors you taught me to break down the world. What's in love, what's in cancer, bitter artists who represent nothing. What's in me without you? Nothing anymore. When I was 14 years old, I was failing my English class really bad. Really, really bad. And I thought it was because my teacher hated me. But it turns out I wasn't doing any work. And he hated me. He asked me if I wrote something that will blow his mind, I can pass his class. And I'm like, what should I write about? He says, I don't know, you're always yapping about where you're from. Why don't you write about where you're from? The Salvadorian in me, who's a little bit cocky, said, oh my God, that's easy. And he said, and you have to perform now. I'm like, calm down, calm down. You're asking for too much. That was the first time anyone had ever asked me about me. The poem is called Where I'm From. Where I'm from, we live summer. We speak in family tongues about family through neighbors' eyes. Our dialects change through ever-changing barrios, cuadras, calles, y casas ajenas. Where I'm from, La Lechuza, El Diablo, and La Llorona all become curfews, and there is no talk of American birds and bees. Reputations follow you like 14-year-old backpacks on our 14-year-old soldiers. Where I'm from, education is a thought as crazy as equality. Tree branches become a sign of disciplinary actions. Moms are mommies, tias are titis, grandpas are popos, fathers have always been gone. Óyeme! Where I'm from, music is our narrator, moving us like revolution once did. Young developing flowers shaking and stepping to beasts that do not understand yet. Perversion is an uncle not allowed to the kids, but it's always welcome to home. Where I'm from, the dinner table is time of conferences of who needs to go get a job, who needs to go get some water, or who just needs to go. Mosquitoes are always ignored, for the immune system of our ancestors is too strong. Where I'm from, children carry sun like descriptive terms. Dirt necklaces tell you when it's time to go away and alone. Because you see, where I'm from, everyone is Christian and has a Catholic neighbor. Love is what is allowed, or how good a young couple is at sneaking around. Babies and make families close, and my chest is even closer. Where I'm from, my grandmother is beautiful. Aunts and uncles are extended parents, and everyone has a right to beat your butt. Boom, toma. Where I'm from is yellow, purple, green, and gold, and it is beautiful. After I said this poem, no one clapped. No one said anything. This one kid in the back raised up his hand. This kid was the neighborhood bully, the biggest kid in our school. This kid was like 6'20". This kid had like a beard, and like his son had a mustache. It was huge. No business in school. And he gets up and he comes close and said, everything that you've ever said is exactly how I grew up. Thank you. Through poetry, that was the first time I was able to tell my story, but also that was the only way that I had ever connected with anyone. So Claudia, thank you for having me here. Thank you for your book. Thank you for your stories, and let's keep them strong. Thank you, guys.
That was beautiful, not just the performance, but the story behind it. And this is what Gulfton has to share all the time. All the time. Like you, it needs to be asked. It needs to be asked. And the forces coming together tonight, again, I'm going to mention all the sponsors in a little bit. I got to mention other Garza Studios right downtown. We're going to give you a shout out in a little bit. I know I saw Danny Mesa walk in, Costa Ricans in the house, representing Costa Rica. También we have representatives from City Council J, from the Constable's Office, the Police Department. Thank you so much. And we are in Gulfton, City Council J, on the southwest side of Houston, Texas. We have a school board representative, CRECEN. That's it for you. Fourth largest city in America. Over 50%, because I think it's an undercount, over 50% Latinos in this city. Every neighborhood needs to be hopping like this because it can, and we're going to make it happen. I want to give a shout out to Leslie Briones, who's running for office. And again, I don't want to scare you. I can be pedantic, I can preach, because everyone around me is thrilling. So I can kind of give you the context. I can bring the history in. That's like a history class. Because at the end of the day, this is how we work together. I don't got to be fly and cool poet anymore because I got friends. ¿verdad? And we've got friends in high places now that are going to make sure that our youth are edified. And on that note, ahora queremos, ¿alguien quiere una música? ¿Quiere escuchar un poco de música? ¿Oh, sí? All right. Bueno, Edgardo, por favor, venga con sus obras. Si el maestro, si nos puede, con su don.
Gracias, muy amable. Por favor, muy amable. Muy buenas tardes a todos. Es un placer estar acá con todos ustedes. Para los que no me conocen, mi nombre es Edgardo Joya. Soy salvadoreño de la capital del Valle de las Hamacas. Y quiero pues pedirles que se den ustedes un aplauso por estar acá con nosotros. Quiero saludar de todo corazón aquí a mi amigo Andrés Guevara, que es un incansable trabajador por las comunidades latinoamericanas aquí en Houston, Texas. Por favor, un aplauso para Andrés. Bueno, voy a tocar dos canciones, creo, y ¿verdad? Bueno, se me olvida algo. Lo más importante, el micrófono. ¿Estamos listos? Uno, dos, tres. Bueno, estamos ahí. Bueno, quiero cantar dos canciones de mi autoría. Esta canción, la primera canción, lleva por título Amándote desde la distancia. Esta canción se la escribí a una exnovia que por cosas del destino pues tuvo que quedarse. Bueno, la relación ya no funcionó por los viajes, pero bueno, esto dice así: amándote desde la distancia. Quiero decirte que te amo, que nunca me he dejado de hacer, que siempre te llevo en mi mente, te llevo en mi alma y aquí en mi corazón. Quiero decirte que te extraño y siento que me alejo más y más. Que el tiempo y la distancia nos separan, que ha causado estragos a nuestra relación. Quiero que tú sepas que me encuentro atrapado en tu mirada, preso de tu corazón. Siento tu cabello en mi rostro, tu sonrisa en mis ojos, tu corazón palpitar. Extraño de tu mano caminar, atrapado a tu cintura y ver tus ojos brillar. Quiero decirte que no puedo olvidar el bien que nos conocimos. Te quedaste metida aquí en mi mente, prendida aquí en mi alma y aquí en mi corazón. Quiero decirte que te extraño y siento que me alejo más y más, que el tiempo y la distancia nos separan, que ha causado estragos a nuestra relación. Quiero que tú sepas que me encuentro atrapado en tu mirada, preso de tu corazón. Siento tu cabello en mi rostro, tu sonrisa en mis ojos, tu corazón palpitar. Extraño de tu mano caminar, atrapado en tu cintura y ver tus ojos brillar. Quiero que tú sepas que me encuentro atrapado en tu mirada, preso de tu corazón. Siento tu cabello en mi rostro, tu sonrisa en mis ojos, tu corazón palpitar. Extraño de tu mano caminar, atrapado en tu cintura y ver tus ojos brillar. Gracias. Bueno, estamos un poquito incómodos acá. Bueno, la próxima canción, esta canción lleva por título Mi Superhéroe. Esta canción la escribí durante la pandemia, cuando la pandemia inició, y la escribí para todos los papás del mundo, para todos esos padres que siempre han estado ahí con nosotros, para todos esos padres que nos han amado sin condición, ¿verdad? Así es que, con mucho cariño, con mucho amor, pero con mucho respeto para todos esos padres que también ya partieron y que ya no están con nosotros, pero nos queda ese bonito recuerdo. Así es que, con mucho cariño, Mi Superhéroe. Dice así. En un día hermoso como hoy, nació el ángel de mi guarda, el que me trajo y cuidaría hasta el final. Ese era mi padre amado. Podía parar la tempestad, calmaba las olas de mi alma y siempre me decía: hijo, mañana será otro día, seguro que será mejor. Gracias por tanto amor, mi viejo, mi superhéroe. Gracias por tanta comprensión. Gracias por cada alegría en mi corazón. Y ahora usted ya no está. a la cancha de básquetbol. Vámonos para la playa. Queremos ir al cine, al parque, a jugar fútbol. Amarnos será su vocación. Él nunca nos puso condiciones. Lo suyo fue algo natural. Y siempre nos decía, hijo, mañana será otro día. Seguro que será mejor. Gracias por tanto amor, mi viejo, mi superhéroe. Gracias por tanta comprensión. Sin usted la vida no hubiese tenido ningún sentido. Y ahora usted ya no está aquí. Gracias por tanto amor, mi viejo, mi superhéroe. Gracias por tanta comprensión. Gracias por cada alegría en mi corazón. Y ahora usted ya se fue. En un día hermoso como hoy, nació el ángel de mi guarda, el que me trajo y cuidaría hasta el final. Ese era mi padre amado. En un día hermoso como hoy, en un día hermoso como hoy, en un día hermoso como hoy, en un día hermoso como hoy. Gracias. Ha sido un gran placer. Quiero mandar un saludo muy extenso allá a mi querida ciudad de Pasaquina, en La Unión. Siempre los recuerdo de todo corazón. Comunidad salvadoreña, centroamericana, gracias por su amabilidad. Gracias, Tony. Gran placerazo. Gracias.
Gracias. Appreciate that. I do want to remind you, at most typical mainstream readings, you're not going to have all these different types of art forms. I'm so glad that we have that here. I also want to say a couple other things. Did you just buy 5 books? You are awesome. Oh, man. All right. And I want you to know, you might think, well, Tony's going to be offended if during the course of this conversation I walk over there and add to my family library. Not at all. I find that very loving and caring. So at any point, if you want to walk over there and purchase one of the books, of course, Carolina Monsiváis is a former Nuestra Palabra volunteer. Carolina del Carmen, I'm recruiting her. She's a public relations genius helping us promote. So I appreciate her helping us with the sale of books. Right now, then, we're going to have a few people do some short 1-minute announcements as we get to our featured poet. I do want to remind you, thank you to the Latino bookstore in San Antonio, Texas, for helping us provide the book sales. One of the announcements shortly will be Maria Duran, who's going to tell us about some of the visual artists exponiendo aquí porque tenemos obras de arte también por otros artistas. También quiero agradecer a Tammy Rodriguez. Tammy Rodriguez helped out a lot tonight. También a Sandra Rodriguez, también. She was a big help as well. And I do want to say one other thing. Yo como chicano, significa que yo soy mexicano-americano, con mi conocimiento yo declaro que soy chicano, pero yo quiero que ustedes sepan, cuando yo llegué a estudiar, yo conocí lo que estaba pasando con mis hermanos salvadoreños y guatemaltecos por el trabajo de CRECEN. Antes de eso, no me enseñaron nada de eso en la escuela, en la televisión, nadie hablaba de eso. I found out that as we were with our struggles, our brothers and sisters in Central and Central America were fighting for political asylum for a war that our nation had a role in creating. That was touching to me. I could not believe I was not told these things. I was happy to get involved, pero también no había suficiente cantidad de chicanos ahí en las calles con ustedes. And that has to change, porque estamos unidos, we're brothers, y su causa nos afecta a nuestra causa. Y yo, ¿verdad? Y aquí yo creo que lo último que quiero decir de eso era que en 2012, cuando nos convertimos al libro Traficantes, todo el mundo escuchaba que estamos luchando por los derechos civiles de los mexicanos americanos, porque nos estaban atacando directamente. Yo quiero hacer eso claro. Nosotros estamos, they were attacking us in Arizona directly. They were banning Mexican-American studies. So as we said we were fighting for our rights, we did not want it to make it appear as if everyone else, we were excluding anyone else. And many other cultures came to our help as well. Pero a este punto también, con conocimiento de años, yo quiero clarificar que también nosotros como chicanos, mexicanos americanos, nos unimos con ustedes ahora y cada día adelante. On that note, thank you very much. On that note, one of our dear friends, Maria Duran, the director of the Central American Collective, is going to talk about some of the artists here. She went out of her way to promote tonight. So thank you for all that you do. And please welcome back to me.
My heart is full. I'm a little upset. It's beautiful to see our culture, to see our art, to see our people, for all of us to come together to celebrate our diversity. At the bottom of all of this is the fact that we're celebrating each other. And so I just really want to thank you. I want to thank Tony for for bringing this event together. Claudia, thank you so much for being here. It was beautiful to be able to create it into this, right? A Central American night that celebrates literature. And so today we have amazing artists, and we wanted to try to have as much representation from our isthmus as possible. And so I'm just so excited that we have Celia Guevara, who is here today. She graduated. She got an MFA from the Houston Baptist University, and she has amazing art pieces. Last year, when we had an online event, she was also part of it, and it's just beautiful that through her art, she's able to also really highlight the beauty of the Garifuna culture. And so, thank you so much. Please stop by and check out her beautiful pieces. She has done so many shows from around the country, and so it's amazing that we have this talent here in Houston, and that she's able to be here with us today. We also have Guatemala in the house. Jose Alfredo from Guatemala, and he is doing some beautiful portraits in charcoal, and so please stop by. Quiero resaltar que mi corazón está feliz de que todos ustedes están el día de hoy aquí. porque estamos celebrando nuestra cultura, nuestra literatura, estamos celebrando nuestro arte y el día de hoy tenemos unos artistas increíbles que están aquí exhibiendo sus obras de arte. Tenemos a Celia Guevara y a José Alfredo Gómez que nos están acompañando. A Celia de Honduras, representando Honduras, y José Alfredo representando Guatemala. El día de hoy queríamos demostrar y resaltar todo eso toda esa riqueza de cultura que tenemos dentro de nuestra región. Así que muchísimas gracias por estar aquí y también, Tony, muchísimas gracias por hacer este evento. Central American Collective, tenemos ahí una mini exhibición. Nosotros estamos aquí para seguir resaltando pues, sí, arte y cultura centroamericana y me gustaría que por favor pasaran y se llevaran uno de nuestros libritos de actividades, que es algo que para cuando empiece otra vez la escuela el próximo año escolar, vamos a estar haciendo algunas actividades con escuelas para seguir resaltando eso con nuestras actividades. Ese es un prototipo, ¿verdad? Pero ahí seguimos añadiendo y nos encantaría, pues sí, todo su apoyo para poder continuar esto. So thank you, please stop by. We have a little activity book of something that we're doing for next fall in the schools, and thank you so much for being here.
Si nos permiten unos cuantos más anuncios, we're going to get to our poet then. And of course, you can still pick up some of the books right now. So Houston Artists is one of the organizations that has been involved here. I do want to give a shout out to the BIPOC Arts Network Fund. We are a fiscal sponsor for several organizations. So we were the fiscal sponsor, and BIPOC Arts Network Fund gave a grant to the Cultural Central American Collective and also the Houston Artists. So if you could say a few words, please, for Houston Artists. I think she's acting shocked. I told her to always be prepared.
I'm a little nervous like Maria. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, awesome. So I'm Carolina Del Carmen, and I'm the founder and creative director behind Houston Artists. It's a new organization out live. We launched last October. We started I actually did my internship from UHD at KPFT, so that's how far I go back with Tony. That's how I'm able to have a lot of connections. So thank you so much for this opportunity, for everything you've done for us, for the Central American Collective as well, that we were able to secure grants. Our very first grants. Was it your first grant, Maria? Yeah, it was our first grant, and oh my God, it's been such a blessing. And to be here, to be at your event today, Claudia. I'm Salvadoran as well. My parents are, so that's why I'm here too. That's why we're able to push this event a little bit more. Maria was pushed so much, and so we're all excited to be here, excited to support you as a Central American poet. And I know with Maria, we briefly touched on expanding this all the way to El Salvador. I know she is already doing that, and I grew up there in the summers, so the poems that were read earlier, I knew everything you were talking about. To me, that's my second home. So anyway, it's really exciting to be here. Thank you so much, Tony. And yeah, we have our Facebook group page. It has over 5,500 Houston artists of all nationalities, all different artistic mediums, and we've had very successful events, thank God, up to today. And we will have our 1-year anniversary this October. So if y'all would like to know more information about that, we're still in the planning stages. Hopefully we'll keep collaborating with more organizations here in Houston and beyond. So thank you so much, Tony, Nuestra Palabra, and everybody for attending, and hopefully we'll see you guys soon. And I'll be here selling books, all right? Thanks.
And Teodoro, si me hace un favor de decir unas palabras, porque yo me acuerdo mucho de sus obras aquí en este barrio para la gente centroamericana, y I came here to become the first Chicano to get a Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing, and those of you who get MFAs, they tell you to stay in the Ivory Tower. They want you to stay inside that castle. We have to come out. No sé si nos puede dar unas cuantas palabras, por favor.
Hola, hola, muy buenas tardes a todos y a cada uno de ustedes. Qué bonito es sentirse entre poetas, ¿verdad? Escritores y tanto talento que alimenta el alma. De verdad nos sentimos muy agradecidos como CRECEN por estar presente acá este día y saludar a Claudia Castro, que ahora con esta cipota bajo la luna creo que nos va a acompañar a estos barrios y seguir fomentando el arte. Muchísimas gracias de ver a cada uno de ustedes, y como CRECEN nos sentimos muy privilegiados de estar en este espacio, y saludamos al liderazgo latino y a cada uno de los poetas y escritores aquí presentes. Y quiero decirte, Tony, que de veras tu paso por CRECEN dejó huellas muy marcadas en nuestro trabajo, y de veras un aplauso todavía para nuestro gran poeta y de la cultura latinoamericana. Muchísimas gracias por invitarnos y un abrazo para cada uno de ustedes.
So for our last announcement, let's talk about money. Of course, we don't mean a corporate vision of money or art. We're about community culture capital, but it still takes capital. And the people in this room put community first, but at the end of the day, if you go to FedEx, they want capital. If you go to the grocery store, they want capital. On that note, I'd like my colegas de Alba to come up to say a few words, because I want to give you some great news. Heraldina is the chair of our organization. I was happy to work with her to write a grant that was funded for $1 million from the Houston Endowment. And yeah, let's applaud that. And it's for us to use our minds to create a plan to create a cultural complex. Again, not a building, because I will not participate in anything where I am pitted against you or anyone else. I refuse to condone that. I will not participate in that. And I don't need to. I don't have to. I've found out that we are powerful together. With this report, in 2 years, we want your insights para que ustedes nos digan qué debe ser este complejo, dónde debe ser, cuáles servicios debe tener, cómo podemos involucrar a Goldston con este centro ubicado en un lugar en la ciudad, cómo podemos crecer allá al mismo tiempo que allá, but we got to get used to asking for money. Okay, so this complex, we're talking $400 million, $500 million. Our community deserves that. And guess what happens? If we're getting, yes, yeah, I heard someone snapping. Let's snap that. Let's snap that. Because if they're donating that much on that end of town, all boats will rise. And they better be donating this much on this town. Because if this part of the community does not thrive, we do not thrive. So, si ustedes pueden venir para acá, decir unas palabras for the Latin Arts Census, we do need you to get registered in the Latinx Artist Census so we can count on you, but then also to know about the facilities. This is Heraldina, our chair.
Gracias a todos. Esto lo puedo hacer en inglés y en español porque las palabras que nos han compartido hoy también tocaron mis corazones. El añil está en mi vida. Yo pinto con añil. Y yo digo que la sangre en mis venas es azul. Y también digo que la sangre en las venas de ustedes es azul. No porque tiene que ver con dinero o con sociedad. Tiene que ver con que somos de la tierra y somos sostenibles y somos resilientes. Y el añil es uno de los productos más perfectos que se le ha agregado a la sociedad global para expresarse. Y eso vino de mi gente maya. Entonces, por eso les quiero compartir que creo que aquí todos somos sangre azul y venimos de la tierra. Gracias por tenerme a mí aquí. Gracias por la invitación, Tony. Les quiero decir que la visión para Alma es enorme. Y es enorme porque nosotros somos grandes, porque somos grandes de corazón y de expresión. Y no cabemos en un sitio pequeño. Y nos han ignorado por tanta década que vamos atrasados. Para ir adelante al caso, imagínense, juntos vamos a crear la visión para el futuro. El futuro es para esta nena de película que me la llevo y me la como. Aquella nena que está oyendo, pero está creciendo. Para todos ustedes, para sus hijos, para sus nietos. Es una visión para el futuro. No hay visión pequeña para nosotros, porque nosotros aquí estamos juntos como centroamericanos, como latinos, pero estamos juntos como americanos. En esta América somos americanos. Mi última pintura, series de pintura que llevé a París últimamente, se llama De aquí y de allá. Y a este grupo no necesito explicarle qué significa eso para mí. A los parisinos se los tuve que explicar. Porque ellos son de ahí. Y no hay nadie más que de ahí. Nosotros somos de aquí y somos de allá. Y eso es importante entenderlo, que somos de aquí y somos de allá. Lo puse en positivo, porque ustedes bien saben que como siempre se habla esto, es que no somos ni de aquí ni de allá, ¿sí o no? Sí. Acuérdense. Somos de aquí y de allá. Entonces, se los comparto para que lo tomen. Tómenlo. Tómenlo, como nosotros vamos a tomar las palabras preciosas que nos han dicho y que están por venir. Yo las voy a tomar. Tomémoslo, compartámoslo. De eso se trata, crear el futuro cultural, donde nosotros seamos no solo visibles, pero donde se entienda que no somos uno, pero sí lo somos. Que no importa el color de la piel, porque todos tenemos color de piel. Que no importa de dónde vengamos, porque al final somos todos americanos. ¿Entienden por qué? Estamos dándole nuestro todo. Y cuando yo los veo a ustedes acá, dando el tiempo, su corazón, su cariño, porque aquí estamos todos con corazones llenos, María, no solo con tú. Aquí estamos todos con corazones que resplandecen, porque estamos llenos de lo que somos, de lo que nos define, y es nuestra cultura, nuestra historia y nuestros antepasados. Pero yo estoy aquí para decirles, todo eso es allá, pero el aquí es el futuro que vamos a crear juntos. En este futuro, Alma quiere oír de cada uno de ustedes, de cada uno de sus amigos, de cada uno de sus hijos. Queremos saber qué está en el corazón de ustedes, qué necesitan, qué quieren. Cómo auténticamente salimos como que fuéramos quinceañeras. ¿Cómo salimos a la sociedad americana, a este gran país, a que nos conozcan? Qué duro es que nos conozcan. Yo llevo décadas y para mí que no hay quien me conozca. Pero no nos quieren poner suficiente atención. No quieren sentarse a vernos de ojo a ojo. Por otro lado, una de nuestras junta directiva de Alma me dijo, Geraldina, yo soy de Puerto Rico, pero cuando ella es cantante de ópera internacional, de las mejores, y me dijo, yo me siento después de cada ópera con cualquier latino que salga y nos besamos y nos amamos y nos abrimos el corazón y nos conectamos, y aquello es un desborde de amor, pero rápido aquello se va, se corta, el hilo se corta, se fue, nos desconectamos, ya no estamos. No seamos eso nosotros aquí. no lo seamos, pero para eso hay que trabajar juntos. Ella está trabajando para Alma para poder mantenernos conectados. Ella dice, si conectamos, lo que Tony dijo, si nos conectamos, si no nos dividimos, si encontramos lo que nos une, y si trabajamos duro, lo cual aquí todos trabajamos duro, quedemos claro, podemos crear este futuro grande donde estemos conectados. Imagínense ustedes que todos los niños de la comunidad se puedan conectar con cada uno de ustedes, con cada uno de los artistas. Wow, eso ya es bastante. Eso no lo tenemos todavía. Esto es una conexión. Y esto es oro. Ahora multipliquemos esto por toda la ciudad. Ahora seamos el 50% de Houston, Texas. Ahora veamos cómo diseñamos nosotros, dónde vamos como latinos, dónde nos vamos a unir, cómo nos vamos a conectar, cómo vamos a adquirir la mejor información, cómo vamos a subir juntos. Porque aquí lo que yo les quiero decir es, subamos juntos. Dejando uno atrás, ustedes saben que no somos así nosotros. Nosotros no queremos dejar a nadie atrás. Entonces, hagámoslo en esta plataforma de arte y cultura y de lo que es auténticamente de nosotros. Gracias.
Thank you, Geraldine. We'll have a sign-up sheet too for you to stay posted. I want to say you've been such a wonderful audience. You are really wonderful folks to come. You're giving energy, you're taking energy. It's a full circle, so thank you to all of you. And now, I'm really so happy that we have a visitor, Seattle Poet Laureate, visit the West Coast, published, speaking of Chicanos of the Central American unity, she's published by Luis Rodriguez, who's Poet Laureate of Los Angeles. Yeah, round of applause for Luis Rodriguez. Poet Laureate of Los Angeles. He's a gubernatorial candidate in California by Teatrucha Press. And also, thank you to the Latino Bookstore. It is a powerful book. She is award-winning. She speaks to our community. This is the literature that America should be proud of. This is the literature that paves the way, inspires, and edifies. So happy to welcome her to Gulfston on the southwest side of Houston, Texas, for Cipota Under the Moon. Please welcome Claudia Castro Luna.
Si fuera una competencia, les digo que ganaría yo, porque no creo que ninguno de ustedes tiene el corazón tan rebalsante de aprecio y de amor como yo. Yo sé que todos estamos celebrándonos, pero es increíble llegar de otro lugar y tener esta recepción y leer de mis poemas a ustedes, una audiencia para los cuales fueron escritos. Eso es, no sé, es quizá la primera vez que sucede en mi vida. Realmente yo he estado leyendo poemas por años ya, en todo tipo de locales. Es algo que va a quedar conmigo toda mi vida, y les agradezco muchísimo todo el trabajo que han hecho todos ustedes detrás de las escenas antes de este día, y también a mis compañeros poetas. Thank you so much for sharing your words and your love. Thank you, gracias por compartir tus palabras. Al final de todo, we have our words. At the end of everything, it is our words. It is our words that we have to say again and again and again and again, our stories, our words, because that's what's missing. That's why we are not seen, right? The story of you being told, go read this book, and it's the same book. I would have been a writer a long time ago if I had seen a Central American immigrant woman who wrote poems and published them. Would have happened for me a long time ago, but that person didn't exist because we have a lack. that we're changing, right? That's what this is about. Tony, muchísimas gracias. Tony, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. I've always wanted to come to Texas. My family left El Salvador in 1981. Llevo décadas en este país. I lived in the US for decades. I've always wanted to come to Texas. I've always wanted to come to Houston. Why? Because I knew there was a lot of Central Americans in Houston. But I lived in other places, so this is just so special for me. Thank you, Tony, for bringing everybody together to make tonight possible. So I appreciate it. So my book is, I have it hidden and marked. Aquí está. Como Tony dice, everything is about community and being together. We are nothing alone, right? We always stand on ancestors' shoulders, and we are always part of a community, and that's how we are strong, if we come together. And in knowing our differences is how we become strong. In knowing our particulars, where we come from, you're from Guatemala, you're Chicano, in knowing what those differences are and holding those stories and understanding those stories, we become stronger in holding that difference. Because it is in that difference, and despite the difference at the end, we're the same, right? And Luis Rodriguez from Diaz Press, a Chicano writer, beloved Chicano writer, amazing writer, read my manuscript and others had turned it down and said, let's publish it. Because it's also that. Escribimos, somos escritores, somos cantautores, somos artistas, somos pintores, pero quien nos abre el campo es fomentar la diversidad y la cultura y también abrir campo, abrir brecha. Y para mí esa persona con este libro particular, este es mi cuarto libro que escribo, es el primer libro que cuenta de mi experiencia de inmigrante de El Salvador, but who made that opening for me to tell my story of immigrating to the US? A Chicano, right? Luis Rodriguez at Diaz Press, which is a fabulous press. And I said at the opening when I read for the first time from this book that I could not be more proud that this book is now living in the catalog of Diaz Press, because it is a legendary press that has held so many of our stories together. Y con eso les comparto algunos de los poemas que realmente son una expresión de identidad y un deseo de esperanza, como han dicho todos, para la nueva generación, para saber esas historias de guerra. This book is an anti-war book. It is a book that talks about the war in El Salvador because I lived it. I'm old enough that I was in El Salvador during the Civil War. And, you know, I know that there's many of us who have probably were in El Salvador, who have family, but so few people know these stories, right? And they don't understand the context of Salvadorans in the US. And like you said, Tony, for me, the people at the border asking for asylum, that's still part of the same war. La guerra no se terminó en El Salvador. La guerra, firmamos algo en 1992. That was just an agreement. The war did not end. The war is still going on. People asking for asylum, that's the aftermath of the war. And we have to have the context of why they're so... Salvadorans are the fourth largest group in the US. Somos el cuarto grupo, los salvadoreños en los Estados Unidos. Why is that? Well, because there was a war down there. And because the US funded that war. And because without the US funding the war in the way in which it did, there wouldn't have been so many of us who had left, who had to leave, who has to leave now, people who are leaving now, right? So all this is why these stories are so important. Y ahora en la noche, escucharte a ti, y escucharte a ti, y escuchar las canciones, y escuchar de chipilines, y escuchar de pupusas, y escuchar de garrobos, y escuchar... Esta es nuestra historia. Es escucharme a mí misma, es escuchar a mis padres, ¿no? Y espero que sea para nuestros hijos también, para mis hijos. Because I also have children. they're not as little anymore, but I do. So all of this collective storytelling is for the new generation to hold those stories too. It is for us and for them. Okay, so este libro está dividido en 4 partes. There's 4 parts to this book. The first part opens in El Salvador with the war. It really focuses on my sister because we were kids. Yo tenía 14 años cuando salimos de El Salvador. La primera parte del libro es acerca de la guerra de El Salvador y luego narra un poco con poemas la historia mía de inmigrar a los Estados Unidos. So I'll start with this poem que está escrito en los 2 idiomas y se titula Síndrome or Syndrome. Oh, perdón. Se titula Vía Láctea. So, Milky Way. Te dejo aquí, bajo la sombra de este mango. I leave you here, in the shade of this mango tree. Como quien dice, esperando un bus en una esquina o a la vía de un río. Hablo de una vía que arrastra almas buenas y malas y cosas chulas y rotas. Imagine you are at a bus stop or standing on a riverbank, watching creatures and their beating hearts ambling by, counting the way their faces flare up to both sides of the moon. Te dejo con un par de maracas para que acompañes a los muertos en su procesión y para que animes a los vivos en sus duelos. You are not alone. I am with you, here, naked, holding my baby teeth in a plastic bag, my back against the tree's rough bark, so that I may, alongside you, learn from it how to grow a spine. Ten cuidado con gatos maleantes, no te metas con doncellas traidoras, listas para ofrecerte algún bocado. Fíjate que estoy aquí contigo y desnuda. Bésame, bésame mucho, como te beso yo a ti. Kiss me, deeply, like the earth embraces a tree's roots, like new lovers do when night falls. Gracias. Ahora sí leo este poema que se titula Síndrome. My sister I was 14 years old when we left. My sister was 11. In 1981, Monsignor Romero was killed in 1980 in El Salvador. The 3 Marlon nuns from the US were assassinated in December of the same year. My family left in 1981. The war is declared in 1981, but the tragedy of the war played out that year in 1980. 1980 fue un año terrible en El Salvador. Cuando lees el récord histórico, te das cuenta que había masacres en las ciudades, en el campo, miles de gente, campesinos que mataron. 1980 was a really awful year in El Salvador. And when you read the historical record, you see that there were hundreds of people killed, sometimes in one day, in one village. And that is the year that I'm narrating here. So este poema habla de mi hermana y yo saliendo del colegio en San Salvador y quedándonos atrapadas en una balaceada con un convoy de soldados a la par, que era algo que sucedía todo el tiempo. So this tells about my sister and myself leaving school during that horrible year. Syndrome. You and your sister stand at a bus stop with a group of strangers when a truck full of soldiers drives past, all of them holding M16s, all of them ready to kill on command. You and everyone else know that if one person moves the wrong way, everyone goes. It has happened before. You wait for the unleashed bullets, wait for them to tear your flesh, wait for the cry of help that is already seeping from your lips, wait for your last breath. This time, the convoy goes on past, and you and your little sister, in your checkered school skirts, squeezed onto the next bus that comes along. On the ride home, the city loses power. Armed forces versus guerrillas, handguns versus assault rifles, conviction versus orders. You arrive home in darkness. Your parents have ghosts waiting at the front door. You are alive, but something inside you died back at the bus stop. Your body has no way of metabolizing that kind of fright. It swallows it instead, a barbed lump. Years later, a therapist gives it a name. By then, the lump has burned, has grown. It is a parasite making rancid what once was whole. Gracias. Y este se titula Hija de los Días, que viene de una expresión de Eduardo Galeano. I don't know if you know Eduardo Galeano, but this comes from one of his chronicles, the title for the poem, Hija de los Días, that comes from a saying that he heard in a Guatemalan village. So, el título viene de indígenas de Guatemala que le estaban contando una historia a Eduardo Galeano, quien lo plasma en uno de sus libros, y yo lo leo después y así titulo mi poema. Es toda una cadena, right? It's a chain. This is how we're connected through words. My 14th birthday happened in a November loss to a brackish year. Newspaper headlines from the first 16 days of that month listed the following. On the second day, 10 bodies of unidentified young men were found ditched on the road to Apulo. 2 days later, a man was gunned down and killed in his car in northern San Salvador. The following day, another man succumbed when his furniture was attacked. On the 7th, in the city of Santana, a 13-year-old boy and 4 adults were attacked and killed. On the 15th, a union leader died of gunshot wounds. The next day, a colonel, his wife, and his children, 11 and 15, were carbonized when incendiary bombs exploded in their house. Peck days and plucked of hope. My parents did not sing my birthday. They must have felt war's vertigo, the gathering of ashes inside people and things. These days, I pull weeds in my garden, and just as soon, new ones leaf back up. Is that resilience? Happy birthday, Papa. Happy birthday, Mama. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Tengo en el libro, hay una sección en el libro que lo he llamado Lotería de los Pobres y Valientes. En this Lotería de Pobres y Valientes, yo soy de Atiquizaya, de un pueblito en Ahuachapán, en el departamento de Ahuachapán, a 12 kilómetros de la frontera con Guatemala. Y la Lotería de Atiquizaya es famosísima. You guys all know the game Lotería, right? You've heard it. Well, the version that gets played in the town that I'm from, in El Salvador, is famous. There's records. There's records you could hear of the people pulling out the figures because there's poems that go with them, right? So, and it's really famous, de verdad que se los digo. Palabra. La lotería de Atiquizaya es algo que hay que tomarlo en serio. Y entonces hay una sección, there's a section here called Lotería de los Pobres y Valientes. Y les voy a leer el último poema. There's short poems in this section. Este poema se titula La Rosa y no está traducido. I didn't translate, this one is left in Spanish. La Rosa. Las fronteras no existen. Preguntale a la Virgen de Guadalupe, quien derrama bendiciones sin pedir pasaporte. Más, uno que se titula Coqui Song, la canción de Coqui. Coqui es mi primo, y empieza con una canción de Vicente Fernández. Todos conocen a Vicente Fernández, ¿verdad? La canción Volver, empieza con la repetición de volver y volver, volver, volver. My cousin Coqui lived allá, sin papeles, in the United States. On the years he managed to return to us, he knew he'd risk his life trying to get back al norte, but homesickness cleaved him with her siren song. He made a party of his first day back, visiting relatives, sharing stories and beers, a silly smile plastered on his round face, the echo of his joy rumbling inside his generous belly, made fuller with foods he did not taste in his life up north. When the beers took hold, he blasted Vicente Fernandez singing Volver and waited for the sun to rise. I watched him once from my bedroom window. He cross-legged, a gargoyle perched on the balcony of our house in the hills of San Salvador, the city sparkling below like a nest of fireflies. Ay, 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 how Cookie flew between what could have been and what was. How he cried, how he sat, a man at the edge of dawn.